Hello and welcome back to A Better World. This is your host Mitchell J. Rabin, and I'm very glad you're joining us again today. Today we're going to have another very interesting show, and no doubt by the end of it you will be a lot smarter, we all will be, than we are right now. And that's because we are speaking with today the author of this book, Brain Power, Improve Your Mind as You Age. So we'll be looking specifically at that subject of aging and getting smarter, actually, utilizing our brain and exercising our synapses and our dendrites and all of that, and what that's all about and the research that's behind it. Michael Gelb, who is the author of this and co-authored with Kelly Howell, is the author of some 13 books with over 1 million books sold throughout the world in 25 languages. And one of the books he's written is How to Think Like Da Vinci, and I think he's been doing it ever since, because he's one smart guy to author this and all the other books he's written, and it's been a real pleasure to get to know Michael. I had him on the radio show sometime recently, and it's really enlivening for me to share his knowledge with all of you, because this is just a dynamic, very important thing, because more and more people are suffering from such things as Alzheimer's and other neurologically oriented illnesses. And it's getting very serious because of all of the pollution in our atmosphere, because of all of the pollution even on TV, dare I say it, is really adversely affecting our minds and brains, as I think we've all noticed. So books like this become a bit of a lifeline to help us kind of get back, it sounds funny, on our feet and inside the workings of our brain. So great to have you on, Michael.
Great to be here, thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, I mean, you've been on this path for many, many years. You also go to corporations and teach and share your knowledge with them. What is like the most important few items that have shown up for you as you've done this over the course of years?
Well, probably the most important item when it comes to improving your mind as you age is attitude. Dr. Becca Levy studied a group of 650 people divided into two categories. Those with a negative attitude towards aging, those with a positive attitude towards aging. The positive attitude group outlived the negative attitude group by more than 7.5 years. So the way you think about your life, your future, really does turn out to be a self-fulfilling prophecy. And it's not just because of mystical, magical phenomena that are taking place in the unseen, although maybe they are.
There too.
But on a level that we can now measure scientifically, when you're thinking negatively about your future, when your idea of aging is a sad and depressing one, you're depressing your immune system.
Right.
When you are embracing the future with optimism, when you feel gratitude, you're strengthening your immune system. So it makes sense on lots of levels that people
Very much so.
live longer, but
In a very practical way for anybody to understand.
exactly.
Yeah.
And having said that, this book is different than books about longevity, because there's a wonderful study called the Blue Zones that looked at the people who live the longest and some of the conditions that seem to be correlated with their living so long. But if you live long and you're not really happy and fulfilled, what's the point?
Another
Right?
day,
Yeah, oh my
another
God.
year.
Yeah. So if you what we want you to do
What's
is
the point?
this book is about longevity,
True.
but it's more than just longevity. It's really about how can you improve your mind as you get older. And that is maybe the single most important thing for people to understand, is that the scientific evidence when we were all growing up was very clear. You were destined to get worse after age 30, and there was nothing you could do about it. And that has been completely overturned. Now we know you're designed to improve. And the only question is, what's the best way to improve your mind? And ironically, when you understand, when neuroscience has a consensus now that your brain's designed to improve with use, it's easier to have a positive attitude because you say, hey,
Yeah.
I'm not destined to get decrepit and miserable.
That's right.
And you mentioned Alzheimer's and other forms of dementia, which are hugely serious challenges. Once you get dementia, once you have Alzheimer's, in all my research, I'd like to say that I found something that is a path towards speeding recovery from that, but I haven't.
Mm-hmm.
But what I have found are substantive, scientifically validated things that people can do, average people can do, to prevent dementia, to prevent Alzheimer's. So part of this is, yeah, we're playing defense. We don't want you to get Alzheimer's. We don't want you to get dementia. But it's not just avoiding the negative. You can get smarter. You can get certainly wiser. You can continue to develop your memory.
That is the idea, is it not?
That is the idea.
Of all life.
That is the idea.
God willing.
So, well, you can have the nicest intention, but it helps
Yes.
to know the research-validated practical things that you can do every single day. to
Before
improve
we
your
get
mind.
to that, I'd like to go back to the first study you cited, which was the 7.5-year gain with a positive attitude. Was that across all different kinds of conditions? I mean, the people who entered that study, those 650 people, were they already at various stages of illness, or were they?
No. It's controlled, so they took them they don't have to start at the same basic point of mental
Okay,
acuity.
that's what I was wondering
Oh,
about.
no,
the
they all start at the
baseline.
same baseline of mental acuity, and they control for all sorts of variables, to the extent that they can. I mean,
Yeah,
no
well,
study is ever
sure.
utterly perfect.
Of course.
Becca,
But it was basically
Right.
a control group of generally healthy people.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
It would be interesting
That's-
to do it again to see if people at different stages of illness and see if that same notion applies. I mean, I feel like we know the answer to that. The answer is, of course, yes.
Well, the same researcher, you mentioned the pernicious effect of the media and the pollution that is in our environment and how it affects our own attitude about ourselves.
Indeed.
Well, that's particularly true when we consider the image of aging on television.
Yeah.
You don't see too many healthy, vital, sexy people in their 70s, 80s, and 90s on TV. You only see
Except the
older people.
Viagra commercials.
Yeah, except they're not 70s, 80s, and
No,
90s.
no, they're 40s.
40, and they're always studly guys who are,
Exactly.
doing the thing with the boat or the horse because they're so macho and cool, because this is a
Right.
macho and cool thing to do.
Exactly.
And a lot of people, I think, are waiting for there to be a Viagra for the mind.
Yes.
But again, while you're waiting, you might want to read this book because the
Before you
image.
get to the waiting room.
The image is, gee, if you take Viagra, then you'll be one of these young, studly guys who hasn't quite shaved because he's supposed to look really cool and Clint Eastwoody.
Right.
But generally, leaving aside that sort of
Imagery.
particular pharmaceutical commercial, almost all images of older people in the media are in pharmaceutical commercials. It's the clapper.
Right.
It's I've fallen and I can't get up. As Dave
Yeah.
Barry points out in his classic Dave Barry Turns 40, the image of older people in advertising in America is about as attractive as death by maggot. And Becca Levy, the same researcher who found that people with a positive attitude live longer, check this out. She had people in their 60s, 70s, and 80s. She showed them words subliminally. So she flashed these words in front of them, but they're subliminal, so they don't consciously know what words they're seeing. Some of the words were words like senile, dementia. Other words were hope, love, and
Vibrancy,
joy.
what have you.
All subliminal. But then she tested their memory before and after. The group exposed to the negative words associated with aging showed a decline in their memory score. The group that got the positive image showed an improvement. So the very first point is embrace an attitude of optimism, of gratitude, forgive the hurts in your daily life, learn to laugh, seek a higher purpose, some meaning or reason to live beyond just survival.
Meaningful
So-
life.
So these attitudinal orientations are where it all begins. And see, if you don't have this attitude, you're not going to do the rest of the stuff we recommend in the book anyway. That's why the
That's the
attitude chapter
point.
comes first, right? If you think you're destined to be a miserable wreck who forgets everything, right, then you wouldn't even pick up the book in the first place. But once you pick up the book, then you're focused on gratitude, forgiveness, humor, optimism, purpose, wisdom, caring for others. then you're poised to apply all the other research-validated wisdom to improve your mind as you get older.
That's great. It's a totally valid point. If people just buy the book, that already is their first step toward health, healing, and optimism. I know you like that. It sounds like
Good,
a
I
good
like that.
commercial.
We can work
doesn't
with
it?
that. We can work with that, yeah.
Let's talk later.
Good.
What are the practical how-tos of your book and your work altogether?
I will take you through them, and a lot of them are familiar to people. They said, oh yeah, I heard that, I read a study
I
about
think what
that.
you've done in this book is organize a lot of data to support common sense.
Well, but that's the point.
Yeah.
What's unique about this book is it tells you just what you really need to do. It's research validated to improve your mind as you get older, that everybody can do. And we avoid a lot of the big esoteric debates about whether you need this rare trace element or herb or you have to go see.
But do you go into?
We do talk about neuroprotective agents, but the ones that we recommend in the book are the ones that when I talked to the neuroscientists, I got to know them, became friends with a number of them. I said, "What are you taking?" And I got very practical. I said, "Well, tell me what do you actually take?" So that's what I summed up. Here, what's in the book is what I take. What's in the book is what I do. So here, and what anybody can do. So first thing is you got to learn something new every day.
You're a good model of the intelligence, and I think you're getting younger.
That's the plan. That's the plan. And my biological age is getting younger as my
course.
biological age gets.
But there's a fundamental important point that I know from my own work and research, which is that we are biologically designed for learning, and in that sense expanding and utilizing what we've got. And we talk about this 5% of use of our brain. Well, what the heck is the other 95% doing while we're using 5%?
Well, see,
and I feel like you're helping to
It's
open
actually
that
only
up.
it's only 1%. But that's only because what we've learned about the potential of the brain is greater. The number that we're using keeps going down. But we came up with this new Occupy movement. Occupy the other 99% of your brain. Forget about the 1% and the 99% of wealth.
Totally funny.
It's your real personal wealth is how much you're using this. And 99% needs to be occupied by you. And one of the simplest things you can do to occupy your brain is learn something new every day. 15 minutes, it seems to be the minimum dose for new learning per day to create the neuroplasticity effect. In other words, to create new connections in your brain. So we want to exercise the brain on a
I don't want
daily
to
basis.
overdo the point, but I know completely what you're talking about when you talk about this, Michael, of using 1%, not 5%. Funnily enough, it's even less than that, because what we have found is that the brain is infinitely expandable. So how do you begin to measure infinity?
That's right, exactly. But
You've got to start somewhere.
See, people are worried that, well, what if I'm losing brain cells every day if I lose 1,000 every day? But even if you lost 1,000 every day,
Yes.
it would still be less than 1% of your total. You just have to make sure it's not the 1% you actually use. Right? So first is attitude.
Right. So please go on.
Then learning something new, challenging your brain on a daily basis. Regular exercise, absolutely critical. And here's the reason why. A lot of what passes for memory loss with age, senility, and eventually dementia, is nothing to do with chronology per se. What it's to do with is a depletion of oxygen to the brain, because people are out of shape. When you're out of shape, your circulation declines. It is the circulation of your blood that brings the oxygen to your brain. So if your brain is 2% of your body's weight, and it uses 20% or more of the body's oxygen, you've got to keep it oxygenated.
Yes.
So you've got to get off the couch, you've got to go for a walk, go to the exercise class, take the yoga class,
Lymphasize,
whatever, find something you
bounce.
love. And we give lots of guidance in the book on the benefits of various forms of exercise and how to start if you've lost your habit of
Yes.
enjoyable exercise.
Yes.
Obviously, healthy diet, which is probably the hardest chapter to write because there's so much controversy. But we tried to bring forth the things that there's 100% consensus from all the neuroscientists that we talked to. And my favorite point is from Michael Pollan on The Voice Dilemma. He said it really simply: don't ever eat anything that your great-great-grandmother wouldn't recognize as food. If you want one principle, there you go.
Yeah.
Then So active social engagement.
Mm-hmm.
So people who define themselves as lonely in their 50s, 60s, and 70s are far more prone to dementia than people who have 3 or more close relationships. Create what I call a brain nourishing environment. So this is the classic research on the stimulus poor versus the stimulus rich rats. The stimulus poor rats have the rat equivalent of cubicles. Their brains shrink. They are less well adapted, they attack each other, and they can't solve mazes. The stimulus-rich rats have bigger, healthier brains, they get along much better with other rats, and they solve mazes no problem. The lesson for humans is create a stimulus-rich, beautiful environment. Listen to the best music that you can. Use your computer screen to create art shows for yourself. Put plants and flowers in your office. Get outside and enjoy nature. Be in the sun, go to the ocean, walk in the woods. This is timeless, commonsensical advice.
Sure.
But now there are a significant
Data.
Body of research that shows that people who spend time in nature, people who listen to Mozart's music, the original study at the University of California, people who listen to Mozart scored higher on their IQ tests.
The Mozart effect on Campbell's work, we've
Don
talked
Campbell.
about that.
So
So we're talking about sensory awareness, but not only that, sensory enrichment, nourishment,
Yes.
and delight.
yes, big time.
And that
Big
includes sexual, of course. So it's, yeah, right. It's food, it's flowers, it's music, it's everything.
Well,
And this is leading a rich life.
this is another insane myth about aging, that somehow
Yeah.
you have to hand over your sexuality, whereas from 50
To whom?
onwards,
Is she cute?
from 50 onwards, you can have much more enriching, much more fulfilling sexual experience. I had really fun writing in the book the section on improving your sex life after 50.
That was an easy one for you to write.
Well, then I said if you pay attention, it'll improve your sex life before 50 as well.
Yeah.
So then the other critical thing that goes together with everything else we've discussed is overcoming stress. So, I mean, if you're listening to Mozart, if you're having a more fulfilling sexual life, if you have 3 or more close friends, if you're eating a healthy diet, if you're exercising regularly, if you're learning something new and you have a positive attitude, all of that's going to help you deal more effectively with stress.
Surely.
Having said that, we need all the help we can get. So taking naps, getting a really good 8-hour
Yes.
sleep, and then meditating. Meditating turns out to be one of the absolute best things you can do for your brain. 20 minutes, flat out, just gives you the benefits of 3 hours of restful sleep.
Maharishi was right.
So,
As were thousands of years of meditators
Of course.
in India, Tibet,
again,
China,
science is
and
catching
everywhere
up with the wisdom
Yeah.
of the ages from all the world's traditions. And
Yes,
again, having
exactly.
said that, there's a lot of people who have trouble sitting still, trouble meditating.
Oh,
So
yes, I
this
see where
is-
you're going.
See where I'm going here.
Yeah.
So that's why this book comes with
Enter Kelly.
a free download of the Brain Sync Brainwave audio training program.
This is beautiful.
Our readers can also
Yeah.
become our listeners, because the download is free when you buy the book. Put it on your iPod, put on your headphones, listen to the Theta Wave program, and in 15 or 20 minutes, your brain will be resonating with the same brainwave frequency of an advanced meditator. And you'll find that you're calmer, you're more balanced, and it puts you into the same receptive mental state that is the state where Leonardo da Vinci, for example, downloaded his greatest ideas. So download the brainwave training.
When you do that, though, you should have a brush in your hand.
If you want to manifest your
Just
genius
in
by painting,
case.
or you could have you could be writing music, or write poetry, or write the book you've always wanted to write, or think of the creative idea about what you want to do with the next 50 years of your life that will align with your highest purpose. So, for creative thinking, for stress management, for meditation, we also have a track, a brainwave, a brain sync program that comes again free with the book. That people have trouble sleeping, they can listen to this. It helps you train your brain into delta waves. I myself, especially when I'm traveling and
love
have jet
that.
lag, I've been listening. That's how Kelly and I came to write the book together, because she's a friend of mine.
Yes.
She gave me a couple of her programs years ago. I travel all over the world. I have trouble sleeping, especially when I have jet lag. I change
Yes.
time zones.
Sure.
I put on the Brain Sync Delta Wave program, I am in happy dreamland. So we were just thinking, we want to help people as much as we can. We want to put together the most research-validated, practical things the average person can do to improve their mind as they age. And then we figured we'll give them this brain sync down.
You know what's interesting, Michael? Yeah, I so appreciate that, and I have listened to Kelly's brain syncs material, and I've also done a lot of it myself, and Delta is particularly powerful. And if you can remain conscious in Delta, you become an enlightened master. That's all there is to it.
You're a lucid dreamer.
You are high up there in, yeah, definitely. I also want to quote Werner Erhard, who refers to something about health related to the idea of social engagement in life. And I always so appreciate the phrase, which is, health is a function of participation. Our involvement in the world, needless to say, what we eat and how we think, of course, and how we breathe and our exercise and sleep patterns and stress patterns and all of that are vitally important. But our engagement in the world is so important.
Well, it's interesting you mention it because when we talked to the researchers who were specialists in these different areas, they each were passionate that, like Professor Ellen Langer, attitude is by far the most important thing. Yeah. Dr. Walter Bortz, exercise is critical.
Everyone has
Dr.
their
John
own...
Cacioppo, the social engagement. So what we did was put together the things that these
You're all right.
research, they're all right. I personally want to do all of them.
And drink a lot of water.
To maintain, that's the first principle in the nutrition chapter.
Mm-hmm.
But social engagement becomes trickier as you get older, because when you were in high school and college, you naturally meet people. When you're first in the workplace, you're meeting new people.
Right.
But if you have transitioned away from the workplace,
right.
if my parents, I just visited them. They're in their 80s.
Yes.
A lot of their friends have died. And as George Burns said, he said, "Look, I'd like to go out." When he had 100, he said, "I'd like to go out with women my own age. There aren't any left." So, as you get 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, you have to invest in your social wealth.
Yes.
You have to go out of your way.
That's a great phrase.
But then you can, that's John Cacioppo, Dr.
Yes.
John Cacioppo.
Excellent.
Then what you can do is you combine these things. So you take an exercise class where you meet other people.
Right.
You go to Tai Chi class and you learn something new. You go to dance class and you learn something new while meeting
Adult
other people.
education, as Woody Allen said, is a wonderful thing. Just don't get mixed up with the teacher.
Well, he also...
He said that to Diane Keith in Indy Hall.
He also said something about sex, something like, sex is like a bridge. If you don't have a good partner, you better have a good hand.
Oh.
Which is relevant for some people too, so God bless.
As he also said about immortality, he said, I don't want to be immortal just for my art. I want to just live longer.
Yes, exactly right.
But so humor is a vitally important piece of the whole picture here, and it's obvious, Look at us, jokesters, But no, it's true, because that also helps us stimulate the immune function, and, it's just like right there. It's...
Again, now there's a lot of, it's common sense, but now there's a lot of research backing up the notion.
Human therapy now, it's all of a sudden a therapy, It used to just be laughter.
But these things used to just be common sense or spiritual wisdom,
That's
forgive because it's spiritually enlivening. But forgive because you free yourself from your own toxic response that you get when you are holding judgment. So it is you don't forgive for somebody else. I mean, if you want to do that for a spiritual reason,
sure.
God bless you.
That's right.
But just forgive because you don't want to be dwelling on this because
Exactly.
it's toxic to you.
You don't want to be holding on to things. Letting go is also, actually, that should be an item in the outline of knowing how to let go of and clearing emotional toxicity.
We do coach people through it
You do?
in the attitude chapter where we say take a daily dose of GFH, and that's not a aging health serum
Capsule.
It stands for gratitude, forgiveness, and humor. So we go into depth on how do you cultivate. What are the strategies? Now that we know research says this strengthens your immune system, what are some simple strategies for cultivating gratitude every day? Forgiveness is harder for people. What are some simple strategies to be more forgiving, to let go? So we guide our readers through that in the book as well.
Are there a couple of nutrients that you would also like to share with us? Because you do have a chapter on nutrition. I think that
Yep.
I think all
Yes.
of it's important,
Yes.
including, needless to say, there are, it's very
Sure.
important to have.
The simplest one, just start with a high-quality multivitamin, multimineral supplement every
Mhm.
day.
Mhm.
We didn't find anybody who wasn't taking, any neuroscientist who wasn't taking that.
Mhm.
Then vitamin D3, because we just don't get enough sun and it's so critically important. Fish oil.
Omega-3s, 6s, both.
Right. And then there's some more esoteric ones that, phosphatidylset and
Those very long words.
those long words. They have only initials. I actually am taking some of those. Oh, I'll tell you the
If
one.
you
though.
can't pronounce
If
it,
you can't
don't
pronounce
take it.
No, no. If a neuroscientist recommends it, I'm taking. But turmeric turns out to be
Oh,
really,
God, yes.
really good.
It's also a cancer anti-carcinogen
Anti-inflammatory.
as well. And it's fabulous on your Indian food. I mean,
Right.
the Indians were very smart people.
Probiotics.
Intuitively knew.
Right. Probiotics.
Yeah.
Are something we can all, especially if you're taking antibiotics or any other drug.
Oh,
And there's
especially-
a piece in the book, I interviewed the brilliant Dr. Hyla Cass.
Oh,
And
yes,
Hyla-
a friend.
Hyla wrote a wonderful
Yeah.
book about